Welcome to the court of the Ideological. How are we? When I'm older, I shall wear purple. My favourite poem, I think. No, it's not my favourite, but it's one of them. Stop All the Clocks is my favourite. Oh, is it? And Dolce et Decorum Est, Brook Patria Mori. Or maybe even Rupert Brooks. What was that called? The Rupert Brooks, if I should die, think only this of me, that in some far corner of a foreign field there is a peace for ever England. The Soldier, wasn't it? That's what it was called, I think. You'll tell me in the Dubras, as you usually do. Welcome to the Court of Media Jester. Become a warrior teacher, blah, blah, blah. Right, okay, so iNews have come up with a right banger of an article, which is appropriate for the first few weeks of 2024, because it's inside the 2023 Tory war on LGBT rights. Once again, we have a newspaper, the inews.co.uk in this case, teaming to get LGB with a T, right? Once you take the T off, it becomes easy to understand what's going on. So what have we got that they're saying here? There's a quote, first of all, that begins the article. "We have to drop this hardcore rhetoric, and we have to drop it now," he said. "We need to stop demonising trans people. We need to stop fighting with the LGBTQ+ community." These were not the words of a gay activist or a Labour MP. This was a plea from a Conservative MP, Elliot Coburn, during the 2023 Tory party conference. He wasn't alone. Fellow Tory MP Mike Freer had already said he wanted an end to heated, toxic debates about inequalities because LGBT people just want to get on with their lives. No, they don't. No, they don't. It's so naive. They don't just want to get on with their lives. These LGBTQ+ nutters are full-on activists, right? And if you mean getting on with their lives is keeping silent while children are medicalised, sterilised and butchered, then I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. iNews. What's wrong with you? LGBT people want to get on with. No, they don't. They want access to children. They want access to everything. The LGBTQ people are nothing to do with gays and lesbians and bisexuals. When are you going to get your head around that? They are a political, hard-left movement. They're nothing to do with the likes of me. Okay? Why are people not getting this? This is what was said. They just want to get on with their lives. This is not what happened. Rows about LGBT rights brewing in the Conservative Party in 2022 boiled over in 2023 beyond an internal war and into a radical shift in tone and policy. Today, politicians and insiders from both sides of the House speak out about this shift to reveal its causes, consequences and implications for the future. One Tory MP discloses details of a face-to-face meeting with Rishi Sunak in which he implored the Prime Minister not to pursue this as an election issue. Why would you do that? It is an election issue. Another MP warns that next year's general election will be the most brutal and hate-filled in my lifetime. And a third reveals that after she publicly opposed a minister over trans rights, hate mail with her name on it was sent to local businesses alongside graphic pictures of transition surgery. The police are now investigating. Now, who would that be, I wonder? For one of the architects of the 2019 Conservative Manifesto, however, this shift is neither a strategy nor a vote winner, but based on real concerns about transgender issues. Right, so here we go. So they started off talking about LGBT so that people think that what they're talking about is gay people, and they've now moved over into let's talk about transgender, which of course is an unreal umbrella term for any group of fetishists and confused kids and everybody else under it. By October 2023, was for many becoming the year the Conservative Party dispensed with the pro-LGBT stance of David Cameron and Theresa May. It's not LGB, it's T. Cameron's introduction of same-sex marriage, May's promised ban on conversion therapy, pledged to reform the gender recognition process, and her 2018 LGBT action plan. What we know now in 2023, compared to what we know now in 2018, means anybody in their right mind would dump the conversion practice nonsense, because trans is conversion therapy. That is trans in the gay way. Anybody would drop it. Right, Cameron's come back out and started waffling on about all sorts of nonsense again this week. Was it? Oh, we will achieve our European sustainability goals. Not European, our environmental sustainability goals. Oh, get in the bin. These people are so backward. But in September this year, before resigning as Home Secretary, Suella Braverman said many asylum seekers purport to be homosexual in an effort to game our system, in the effort to get special treatment when they're not actually gay. This is true. The left and the Liberals don't like truth, do they? This is true. She announced that the Home Office had ended all association with Stonewall. Good! Why aren't the rest of them ending all associated with that revolting organisation? It says it's Britain's largest LGBTQ organisation. It's not an organisation. It is a powerful cabal. It is a powerful lobby group for hard left identitarian ideology, which is happy to harvest children's bodies for profit. Suella continued when she criticised the police for their LGBTQ inclusion policies. We do not pay them to wave flags at parades, to dance with drag queens or to campaign. Absolutely right. While still Health Secretary Steve Barclay said trans patients would be excluded from single-sex wards. No, men would be excluded from women's wards. Why are you doing this? Following a consultation later in the year, because Conservatives know what a woman is. That's why, they're being excluded. They're in the male wards where they should be. And at a summer party for the 1922 committee of Tory MPs over the summer, a leaked video showed Rishi Sunak joking that Liberal Democrats leader Ed Davey had been trying to convince everybody that women clearly had penises. He did. It's exactly what he did, the nut job. However, Sunak was absent from another party celebrating 10 years of same-sex marriage, the law David Cameron had introduced partly to wash away the memories of Section 28 and detoxify the nasty party image Theresa May once identified. Don't know why she identified it. The Tories had more to do with giving us our rights as gay people than Labour ever did. It's just that people have been lied to about that. Who started the process? Churchill. Who voted for it? Thatcher. Really? Really? When Labour voted against, by the way. People have been lied to all these years. At conference, the Prime Minister told delegates we shouldn't get bullied into believing that people can be any sex they want to be. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. That's just common sense. Some of his most prominent backbenchers elsewhere at conference were raising the temperature further. Miriam Cates MP opined at a fringe event that pornography made people transgender. You see an awful lot of trans women, so men, saying it was trans porn that led them into the trans arena. This is true. This is true. Pornified men. She had previously written of gender insanities that schools have swallowed the gender ideology pill, which they have. And of this ideological capture and its harms to children. She then lobbied other Conservative MPs to sign a letter to the Prime Minister, ask him not to implement the ban on conversion therapy. Absolutely correct, because the ban on conversion therapy would be transing the gay away. By December, the shift of tone and policy had accelerated. Kemi Badenoch, the Equalities Secretary, told the Commons there was now almost an epidemic of young gay children being told that they are trans. This is true. Right? And it's still happening once they get to 18. We meet the new guys that are sort of part of the constituency that turn up in October, and there'll be dozens of them, and the girls saying, well, I was told that I was trans. I've saved a couple from non-binary nonsense. By December, the shift of tone of policy had accelerated. Kemi Badenoch, the Equalities Secretary, told the Commons there was, I've done that, an epidemic of children, right? She compiled a list of countries whose gender recognition process she deemed insufficiently rigorous. It's not that she deemed it, it's our law says what our law says. And if we're going to recognise nonsense from outside, we have to make sure it's as stringent as our law is. What the hell's wrong with these people? They can't even see the truth. So that when trans people know such thing from those nations moved to Britain, their gender identity would not be recognised unless they provided further medical evidence. Yeah, good, right, good, because gender identity isn't a thing, it doesn't exist. Fucking nonsense. After months of disagreements between departments, Badenoch and Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, finally published non-statutory guidance on schools on how to manage gender-questioning pupils. The document told staff they have no general duty to allow pupils to socially transition and should inform parents if their child wishes to do so, except in exceptionally rare cases where there was a significant risk of harm. Government opponents accused the government of encouraging teachers to out pupils to parents. You don't come out as trans, right? You don't come out, you get diagnosed with a mental illness. Why aren't we saying this? Okay? Either that or you're a fetishist. This is so disingenuous because what then happened was the unions and teachers started saying, that's right, we're not going to follow the guidance anyway. Whoa. I mean, we've got a real problem. Liz Truss picked up on this. The former Prime Minister, the guidance didn't go far enough as a change in the law of the land is required. It is. But the guidance is like a stopgap because there is a change in the law required. But we're going to have 4 or 5 years or whatever it may be of Labour government so that the people really realise how despicable leftism when it gets this hard is. And liberalism, neoliberalism. There's your enemy, neoliberalism and leftism. Hard leftism. Or, in reality, people that just want to interfere in other people's lives and those who would just like to get on with theirs. That's what it is, in most cases. You will use my pronouns. The government also dropped its commitment to debate the Commons how best to compensate veterans sacked from the military for being lesbian or gay. After an uproar from military charities, the government U-turned on this, but delayed the debate until 2024 and has not scrapped its cap on compensation. There's something we can do, right? Innit? Let's change that. But it goes on to talk about other things, but then it then says, but overall the Conservative shift has been too glaring for many to ignore. So why has this happened and where is it heading? For the opposition, the answer is clear. It's very much a strategy, Labour MP Kate Osborne told iNews. Where's my catapult? Right. They are trying to take the attention away from their many failings. It's an argument they think they've got the majority side view on, when actually I believe most people are supportive of LGBTQ people, not once they know the truth they are. Hey Kate, once we start telling the truth to the public. The Tories are more concerned about the cost of living. The people are more concerned about the cost of living crisis and whether they can pay their bills. Stop obfuscating. Right? Stop lying. Stop doing the, oh look, there's a squirrel. We unpick sex as the basic categorisation and we are doomed. Kate Osborne, you unbelievably stupid individual. Fellow Labour MP Sarah Champion agrees in part because of what senior figures in the Conservatives have already revealed. The Conservative Deputy Chairman Lee Anderson said it himself of their next general election campaign. He thinks they'll rely on a mixture of culture wars and trans debate. That's exactly what's going to happen. Right? Elliot Colburn, who's another one of these idiots, right? The Tory MP who spoke out at conference, however, told iNews that he does not even know if it's a strategy. And I've repeatedly asked, and they haven't even answered. The roots of the winds of change are wider, he said, partly emerging in concert with well-funded American religious right organisations who have championed anti-LGBT causes in recent years and echoed by the Russian government. I mean, he's a loon, right? We've dealt with those type of people before and we can deal with them again, but we'll deal with them once we've dealt with our common enemy, which is gender identity, ideology and critical social justice. He says, here in the UK, this anti-LGBT campaign has become incredibly well organised. Yep, we've got together and collaborated as a grassroots movement to stop this harming children, women and gay people, you unbelievably stupid man. I feel better for that, right? He says it's managed to capture the fears of otherwise moderate colleagues. Listen to me, young man, there is no compromise with this. Compromise will kill us. He says that he thinks that's what's led to the change in attitude. When I think back to the publication of the LGBT action plan, all of the hysteria and the rhetoric that's coming out now was nowhere near as potent as it was in 2018. That's because it's let the demon out of the damn lamp. But the causes of this change, he added, are also more internal, driven partly by certain Tory advisers and emerged during the 2 Conservative leadership elections last year. There's been a battle for affection within the party membership to try and win those members over, he told iNews. And for some reason, the issue of LGBT, particularly the issue of trans, in which case separate it out, right? It's not just say trans. Forget the LGBT, we've got nothing to do with them. Seemed to be one where people thought they might garner support. During the first leadership campaign in July, Penny Mordaunt, who was once declared trans women are women, trans men are men, then wrote a Twitter thread railing against the trans orthodoxy. Just 4 days earlier, former Equalities Minister Mike Freer had resigned, lambasting the government for creating an atmosphere of hostility for LGBT plus people. No, hostility for gender identity ideology and those who wish to harm children, women and gay people. After the October 2022 resignation of Truss, the Conservatives never recovered in the polls and have spent 2023 hovering below 30%, often closer to 25%, and typically 20 points behind Labour. So is this a strategy to win votes? I don't think it's strategic, Robert Colville, one of the authors of the 2019 Conservative Manifesto, told High News. If there has been a change in the Tory party, it's very much about the T in LGBT. It's emphatically not being done out of electoral strategy. Instead, he thinks the shifts has arisen from genuine and heartfelt concerns surrounding the treatment of trans children. There's no such thing as a trans child, and the tension between self-ID and that there should be safe spaces for women who've been victims of abuse and rape. It's not just safe space for women who've been victims. It's safe space for women. No men in women's spaces. These people are thick as pig shit. I'm sorry, I'm angry with them about it. There is a sense within the Tory party of them pushing back against the progressive movement. It's not progressive, it's regressive. For God's sake. It's a progressive movement that's just gone too far, but he's denied there are any problems with any of this, he said. But this taps into a more fundamental fear on the right, that conservatism is increasingly being viewed as illegitimate, he said, citing the rise of woke and a whole series of doctrines which are being spread in academia, in charities, which essentially attempt to argue that the things they believe in are outdated or prejudiced. A senior Tory who did not wish to be named told iNews that MPs who campaign against trans issues, or so-called woke issues, are rising in the party due to this deeper worry. Oh yes, it has been fairly depressing at times, said Coburn. The thing I find most frustrating is that it doesn't actually reflect the majority. We're talking about a very small group of people of about 20 colleagues who are seemingly obsessed with these issues. They're coming forward with the same arguments that we heard in the 7 cases of threats to children, the same crap that we've heard before, just dressed up in a different label. For God's sake, Coburn! You unmitigated tosser! More moderate Tories now don't feel they can speak up, he said, because the debate has become so toxic. You made it so! But in the background, I think their patience has almost run out with a small minority of colleagues that are obsessed with it. What's notable, said Colburn, is that for all the tough talk about the Equality Act protecting children and women's spaces, no primary legislation has been implemented. So it is just about playing to an audience. That's how it feels. He thinks there may well not be any new policy announcements before the election. They don't believe it's happening. They don't believe any of it. You see, it's just some concerned people. Yes, some concerned people. Really, what, 51% of the population who will be concerned when they find out, right? Just some concerned people. What about the 50,000 people in America that are underage and have had their breasts removed? What about the concerned gay men who've gone through having the genitals mutilated and cut off? What about them? Do they count? Right, these people in the Tory party need to be dealt with, and I don't think they can be dealt with till we get rid of Rishi Sunak and stick Kemi Badenoch in place. But that's just me. On that note, I'll leave you to it. See you later, folks. Go and read the article. It's well worth it. Bye-bye.